Let's chat. Welcome to Between Each Sip. I'm Ian Su.
I'm Daniel Wang.
Welcome to our first podcast.
Yeah.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to ask questions about each other. Well, the same questions about each other. And you guys get to know a little bit more about us.
Yeah.
All right?
Just as an introductory episode.
Yes.
So that they know who they're listening to.
Correct. And then afterwards, we'll have...
Yeah. And also, we're very interesting people.
Hope so. I sure hope so.
We've never went over these questions. So it could be like 2-worded answers. You know?
This could be really boring. All right. And then you guys all leave within about 2 seconds. Or you stay tuned and you like our story.
You might cry. We might bring it up to that level of intensity.
Okay,
he might cry. I've never seen him cry before.
Maybe not on my side. But maybe on Daniel's side.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, honestly, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll start off our very first question.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe I'll ask the question. You go first, Daniel?
Let's do it.
So where did you grow up? Well, where'd you come from? Where were you born?
Because obviously I'm Chinese, but we're in Canada.
That's the exciting part about us.
Right.
We're both
immigrants.
Yes. Right? And we came to Canada.
Yes.
So let's tell them a little bit of your history. So where did you grow up?
Yeah.
We'll go from there.
I grew up in Zhengzhou. It's a city. It's a capital city of the Henan province in central China. That's where I grew up, and it's kind of a weird city because it's not like geologically in the middle of China, but a lot of people consider it the central hub of China because all the railroads and all the transportation goes through our city. Okay. So it's a very there's a lot of traffic going through that province, and Henan as a province is known as sort of the farmlands of China. Okay. That's where a lot of the crops and the food and that stuff comes from in China. Yeah.
How do you say it?
Henan.
Henan.
Yeah.
Henan.
Yeah.
I know. I can't even speak Mandarin properly. So
you got that Taiwanese accent that Asian girls, ABGs love.
Oh, really? Well, I did not know that. Okay. So Henan. Were you born in Henan?
Yeah, I was born in Zhengzhou.
Wait, whoa! You just said it's something different.
No.
You just say Zhengzhou and Henan.
Henan is a province.
Oh, Henan's the province.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Zhengzhou is the city.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Zhengzhou is the capital city of Henan.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So it recently made to the Tier 1 city list in China. I think in like 2-3 years ago. And before it was a Tier 2 city. Back when I grew up, it was a Tier 2 city.
What the heck is a Tier 2 city?
You know how there's so in China there's different tiers of cities. Like if you get international airport, if you reach a certain GDP, there's different tiers of cities. Okay. Yeah. So Beijing, Shanghai, those are Tier 1 cities.
And do they look down on the people with how many tiers are there?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Is there a Tier 10?
I imagine,
and no one wants to live in a Tier 10 city?
I think maybe 3 or 4 tiers. I honestly don't know. But I just know recently Zhengzhou made it to Tier 1.
No way. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So but back then when I was growing up, it wasn't. It was a Tier 2 city.
All right.
Yeah. So not that it was ghetto, but it wasn't, an international city like Shanghai or Beijing was.
All right, so Daniel was living in the ghetto, Tier 2. We don't know.
I grew up in the hood of China. And I lived there till when I was 12, and that's when I moved here to Ottawa with my parents.
All right, okay, so 12. So that's where you grew up.
Yeah, Zhengzhou is where I grew up, and then Ottawa the rest of my life until now.
Okay, nice.
So nice. Yeah, what about you?
I can't remember, but I was born in Taipei.
Can't remember where you grew up?
All right, I was born in Taipei, Taiwan.
Okay.
I came to Canada when I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't turned 7 yet, so I was still 6 years old when I was coming to Canada.
What grade is that?
Grade 1.
Okay, grade 1. Okay.
Right, I was grade 1. I was just getting into grade 1.
Yeah.
I was still 6 years old.
Did you
I remember a little bit of Taiwan when I was that age.
Yeah.
Honestly, who remembers anything from when they were 6 or younger? Right?
Like pieces. Here and there.
Like,
So
maybe
what's a piece that you remember of Taiwan?
our house. We
Okay.
lived in a high-rise building,
Like an
right?
apartment.
Apartment building.
Yeah, yeah.
The high-rise building. I mean, Taiwan's such a small island,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I still go visit there. I do.
Yeah. Oh, so you guys still own that property there?
No, my dad, and my mom does not own it anymore.
Oh,
So
okay.
the place where I grew up,
Yeah.
the apartment building, it was like on the side of a mountain. We were living on, I think, on the 34th floor, and that's as much as I remember.
Do you remember? Like, did you guys have elevators? Did you guys?
Oh no, elevator. No, we were in the ghetto.
Yeah,
like we were tier 1. If
Okay.
you guys were tiers. All right,
all right, cool.
Taiwan is all tier 1. There's no such thing as tier 2.
I'm gonna Google this.
I don't know what the heck
I'm
a
gonna
tier
Google
2
this.
is. All right,
Back in the day when you were growing up, if Taipei, right?
Taipei.
If Taipei was a tier 1 city,
Taipei is the capital city of Taiwan.
bro, doesn't matter. Taiwan is like a province. Henan is a province as well,
Well, then I don't know.
right?
Well, I'm
Like,
pretty sure we're tier 1.
yeah,
like,
I think
if there was
anything, probably.
If there was something better than a tier 1, we probably were better than a tier 1. But we didn't live in the ghetto.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
My parents were farmers. They owned their own business. They were farmers, and they decided to immigrate to Canada when we were young. So like we came to Canada when I was 6 years old. Immigrated to Vancouver.
What year was that?
95.
Oh wow! So you came exactly 5 years before I did.
Yeah, 95.
Okay. So I moved here in 2005. Different world.
10 years later, not 5 years.
Oh, did I say 5? Yeah, I meant 10 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you do your math?
Well, clearly I didn't grow up enough in China to get that math gene.
So how old were you when you came to Canada?
I was 12.
Okay, you were 12.
Yeah,
Right,
so I was in grade. I went into grade 7 here, not speaking a word of English.
Okay, but you can read, write Mandarin.
Yes,
You're fluent.
I'm fluent. I'm fluent in Mandarin.
Right.
I don't know if I can write nowadays. Like I could type. I could draft an email electronically because
But you can read a book. If somebody give you a book to read, you're no problem.
Read,
Okay, good.
I can read. I can get the gist of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me, on the other hand, no. I can speak it.
Yeah.
Can read, can write.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, my Mandarin's not that good.
I mean, it was good enough to talk to my parents when you sold us that car.
Okay.
My first car.
All right. Well, that's another story. But yes,
that's how we met.
When it comes down to
we'll
selling
talk
something,
about that another time.
Do whatever it takes to make that sale. So
I see.
All right.
So I was just a number to you at the time.
At the time.
Okay. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
But yes. Now let's go on to our next question. Let's move on to the next question. Why did your parents, or if you had an input, because you're older, you're 12 then.
I was,
right?
Yeah.
I was only 6, so I was just following.
Did you have a say in it?
No, I had no say.
Man, so
I didn't even know we were coming. I was just saying, my parents were saying, you guys, oh, sorry, I lied. But you first.
Okay.
Why did you guys come to Canada?
So, as we all know, China is a very competitive space, right? And growing up in China, like there's a lot of pressure on kids, especially.
Yeah.
And there's so many people in China, and back then the economy isn't what it is today, right? So, like if you think about China as a developing country, which it very much was back when I moved, like early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, even mid 2000s, China was like not even close to what the world considers it as, like for example 2015.
Oh, for sure.
That 10-year gap, China like
developed a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So
lots of business opportunities.
Exactly.
Like,
so back in the day, it wasn't like that.
Okay.
And nobody really knew how China was going to develop as a country, as a society.
Okay.
And there's always lingering feelings from people who's gone to democratic countries, Western countries, that come back and that are like, oh my God, it's such a more developed world, as a society that's more developed than China. Like people would always compare. So my parents thought it would be there would be more opportunities for me as a kid once I grew up, if I was growing up here as in Canada, if we moved to Canada.
All right.
So essentially, all has to say they don't know if I were able to compete when I grew up in China.
Were they pretty much saying you weren't good enough?
No. Like
I'm here. Compete. Like, did your parents pretty much tell you,
Daniel,
here in China, you won't survive.
You're not gonna make it, bud. No, they just
let's put you in a country where you have a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the white people, maybe you have a better chance. Right?
Oh,
Yeah. But no, it just like the future of China as a society, as a civilization, wasn't certain back then, and no one really knew where it was gonna go.
All right.
So they thought, in a developed country like Canada, it will be more stable. It will have more opportunities. I would get a better rounded education. Growing up, than I would if I was in China.
Okay, now let's rewind. Today, China's grown tremendously in the last 20 years since you came. Right? 2005, almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years, yeah.
I mean, China's no longer it's on par with North America.
It's essentially a developed country.
Right. In my opinion. It is, right? So knowing what you know about China today, would your parents still make the decision to come?
So
because it was for, I think of my understanding, is better education, a better opportunity.
Yeah.
But now China, the way it is, I mean, there's still its own concerns for every country.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you think? I mean, your answer for your parents, you don't know now, but would they still want to? Hey, let's come to Canada.
So you're asking if I'm 12 today.
12 today.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so today, as we all know, the COVID pandemic really changed China as a country, and right, like so that's changed a lot. Like if we're talking today.
Yes, today. Let's use today. Like we know how it is today with everything that's affecting COVID, economy, everything.
I think they would, because I know
they still would come.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But if you ask them, say in 2019, when there wasn't COVID and the government was still open to
there was no bank
globalization
issues.
Yeah, exactly. No, bank issues started already in 2019. But I would say but even then, just as a society, like country, people were making money, they were living good lives. You know, there was nothing to complain about.
Okay.
Right? But now it's like the government's living in their freedom in terms of they can't go here, they have to have a fucking app green card or some shit, even if they wanted to. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
We'll
bleep it out?
Bleep it out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I have to catch it.
Yeah. Sorry. So like maybe today they would, because I know for a fact that my cousins want to move their kids out of the country now because of what's happened recently with China.
Yeah.
But if you asked in 2019, probably not.
Okay, so 2019, no.
Yeah.
Because it's still developed, was good.
Yeah.
It's today.
Maybe today, because the political climate has changed so much in the past 3 years.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. That's an interesting point, because back in the day, like the 2000s, tourism, like if you went out, like if Chinese people went out to the States or Canada or Europe to do tourism, right?
Yeah.
They would go back to China and tell people like, oh man, it's a different world over there. It's so much more developed. The people are civilized, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And they would urge people to go out.
Yeah.
They would urge people to move to those countries if they could.
Okay.
But that really changed, I would say, around like 2013, 2012, 2013.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because then, like, man, there's so many millionaires in China. Everybody was making money.
Yeah.
Everyone had a great income, and then they would go out.
And it's not much different.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, these people are living the same lives we are. Just they have a backyard, because China, like everyone still lives in apartments due to the population.
Yeah.
And back then I grew up in an apartment as well, right?
Okay.
So, it was a little different, but now like the standard of living, even as a middle class in China, is so good. There weren't much incentives for them to move out, right?
All right.
So I think that was a big difference.
All right.
Yeah. What about you? Why did your parents?
Honestly, I asked my parents the same question. Why did you guys decide to come to Canada? At the time, my dad's sister, younger sister, was already here. She immigrated first to Canada. And when I asked them the question, they just said they had the right opportunity because they still worked. Mm-hmm. So when we came to Canada, my brother and I, my sister, my brother's younger, my sister's older, they dropped us off and they left.
What do you mean they left?
Like they left. Like they dropped us off and said,
In
"Here,
Vancouver?
you're in Vancouver."
Okay.
And the opportunity was that my dad's sister was here, so she was going to be our guardian. So he took that opportunity that she was willing to take us on.
Yeah.
And he left because they still had to work. They owned their own business in Taiwan. They were farmers. They had a great business.
Yeah.
And I asked them a question. I was like, "You guys were doing so well. Like we weren't like that. They were doing very well off."
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them, "Why did you guys bring us to Canada and drop us off when we were?" I was 6. My brother was 5.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, I have kids. I could never do that. I could never drop off my kids. Let's say the reverse. Drop them off in Taiwan and say, "Hey, mom and dad, see you later. You guys are going to have an education here."
Yeah.
So that they make that sacrifice. And their sacrifice was that they wanted to give us a different type of education. Less pressure.
Yeah.
So in Taiwan, in the Asian culture, I think school's very, it's very pressured. Like when I was 5 years old, I remember, sorry, you asked me anything else you remember. I do remember one thing. In kindergarten, I was going to school 8 o'clock in the morning and coming home at 8 o'clock at night.
How did you go to school? Were you dropped off?
I was dropped off.
Okay.
And then school finished. So this is kindergarten, kindergarten. So when I was in kindergarten, what I remember was 8 o'clock. I would go to school. School would finish at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Mom would come and pick us up from the school, grab us a quick snack somewhere, street vendors, which I love.
Yeah, amazing.
And then 4 o'clock, we're going to night school. Like there was a thing called the night school. And night school would go from 4 to, depending on how much help you need and what level you are. And this is kindergarten we're talking about here. We would stay in school till 8 o'clock at night, come home, but we would have dinner at school, at night school. Like my mom would bring it in, like we would have, we could pack 2 lunches.
Yeah.
1 lunch, 1 dinner.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that was their main thing. It was just education was so stressful, even as a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. I mean, I see my own kids right now. And at an age, when I was 5, I had my multiplication table memorized. That was how stressful it was. Like you were, if you didn't have it memorized, you were behind.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You were already, writing sentences, like everything. Like when I came here, when I immigrated to Canada, I was in grade 1, and I had math class.
Yeah.
When I got my first math, like I was doing the math class, I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And the teacher thought something was wrong with me. Like, "Do you not know how to do this?" I kind of looked at it because I didn't know any English, right? I said, "No, this is too easy."
Yeah.
Like this was what I was doing,
like
before kindergarten,
ago, right? Yeah.
Before kindergarten.
Yeah.
So I realized that the level of my math was someone who's in grade 5 when I was in grade 1.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't think my sister still lives there, and my sister has a son.
Okay.
And yes, the pressure of education is still very stressful, but not as stressful as when we were kids. When I was a kid back then.
Yeah.
My sister's kid is still going to night school, and there's still night school, but it doesn't go to 8 o'clock. I think they cut it off now at 5 or 6 o'clock. So there's still night school. And I remember when I was a kid, like Saturday, sometimes there's even classes on Saturdays too, right? So that was when I asked my parents, why did you guys decide to choose Canada? Why did we come to Canada? I think they had 2 choices, New Zealand or Canada. And the only reason why Canada was picked was because my dad has a sister here.
And it was
just my aunt was here, so it's just a proper opportunity.
Yeah.
And it was for education. And I'm glad they did. I'm glad they made that sacrifice. And we're here.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I can live in Taiwan. I love going back. I love going back. I love vacationing there. I love the food.
Yeah.
The shopping, right? And the entertainment. Like in Taiwan just like China, it's fantastic. I highly recommend going to Taiwan as a vacation destination. And Daniel can touch about China, but Taiwan definitely. It's just a small island. It's so much fun. I would go back, but I could never live there.
Yeah.
Unlike my sister, who's now there permanently, married, has a kid, and she enjoys that lifestyle, but she's a little older.
Right.
She's 7 years older than I am. But for me, no, I don't think I can go back.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up the night school stuff. I remember that too.
Yeah.
Because I remember, I did even more schooling than you did.
All right. Okay.
So I remember even like you said, when I was very little, I think it was like grade 1.
Yeah.
They essentially, I think my mom in the mornings would drive me on her scooter, like a moped,
Yeah.
to school.
Yeah.
And then it was earlier. It was like probably like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And after school, which was like 3 or 4, I would take the bus on my own as a, second grader
Wow.
in China. Yeah. On my own to go home. And it was like an hour and a half bus ride. And I had to do exchanges.
Wow.
Yeah. It was crazy.
And
so
then you were grade 2, so you were 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, after I got home, I would have to ride my bike to go to the night school.
What?
Yeah. But the thing was, the night school was like I would say like a 10-minute, 15-minute bike ride.
Yeah.
But it didn't end till night, right?
Wow.
So it was like 8 or 9 o'clock. I'd be biking home on my own. It was like, thinking back now, it was pretty scary, but like, at the time.
It's like asking Mike Evan, who's 7, to do that, and I don't think I'd be comfortable with him doing that. You
would not, right?
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. But back then, that was the norm. Everyone in class, in school, that's what they did. You know? So so I do remember night school and stuff like that as well.
So yeah, I think that was the main reason my parents, and I think I never got. I mean, I finished grade 1 halfway through before I came to Canada, and I believe middle school and high school you do exams to get into which school, right? And they didn't want to put us through that kind of stress. Where my cousins who grew up in Taiwan during middle school and high school time, it's like you're trying to application, you're testing yourself to get in and submitting an application to get in. Like, you're doing university applications, but at such a young age where it shouldn't be that stressful. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So that's Taiwan. That's what my parents had mentioned. So
mainland's like that as well.
Yeah.
And I left right before the first test that you had to do.
To get into middle school?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
No, to get into high school.
To get into high school, okay. Yeah. So that's stressful.
So I must have done the middle school, and I'm not sure, but
to be put in the tier of like which high school, like it's like good high school, middle high school, like average high school, and
because that
slums.
That decides your future.
Yeah.
Because if you for those who don't know, if you don't get into a high tier high school, then you're not going to be able to get into a high tier university.
And you're not going to, and people don't.
If you don't get that university degree from that high tier university, then you're not going to get a job.
Correct.
So that's how competitive it was. Like, and that was no exaggeration. Like, you're just not going to get a job.
Yes. So that's like Taiwan, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know, but that's what my parents had said.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's the reason why I guess both of our families decided to come to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I grew up in Vancouver. And after the reason why I came to Ottawa, and this is where we both live, is because I came here for university.
Oh, okay.
So I came here for university.
University of Ottawa.
University of Ottawa. I went to University of Ottawa and met my wife.
Yeah.
Since we met in Ottawa, we decided to make Ottawa home.
Oh,
so we didn't. I couldn't convince her to move back to Vancouver.
Yeah.
And she grew up in Toronto area, north of Toronto.
She didn't want to go back to Toronto?
I didn't want to go to Toronto.
Oh, how come?
I don't know.
You just didn't like Toronto?
Vancouver was better.
Fair enough.
Weather.
Yeah.
Just that alone wins.
Yeah.
All right. So, but we both kind of said, we met in Ottawa.
Yeah.
We said, hey, let's just make Ottawa home.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And
when did you guys decide that?
When we knew like this, this was serious. Like we were going to get married. When I proposed.
Yeah.
And during that year before our wedding, we had to decide where we were going to make home.
Okay.
So we made Ottawa home. But that's another stuff.
That's another story.
Yeah, we can talk about that. Another day.
With Alicia, perhaps.
Yes.
And then me and Anthony will grill you guys, and you guys can grill us.
We could.
That would be fun.
We could. You have
comment to down below if you want to hear that.
Yes.
Us as couples grilling each other.
I'm pretty sure that's a hard one to convince. She doesn't like. She doesn't like to be in front of a camera. So
we'll see.
We'll see. We both have our own social media platforms, right?
Yes.
Like, well, maybe talk a little quickly about that.
Yeah.
Because why are we not shy in front of a camera? Well,
I do. I'm on Instagram as honestly, most people watching probably already knows me as Wongerbar at wonger.wonger on Instagram.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did some videos with whiskey and watches and things like that. So
But watches is your main thing.
watches is my main thing.
All right.
You know what? I think whiskey's
Whiskey's
pretty up there too.
Okay, we'll have to do another video.
And cars as well.
Yeah.
So
and cars, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But how come you're so comfortable in front of the camera?
I don't think. I mean, I only just started my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah. I mean, recently.
When I say recently, I mean 4 months.
Yeah.
4 months. So
it's been a while.
It's been a while. I've been working at it, and it's Sue Family, Mr. Sue Family. Actually, it's Mr. Sue Family. So if you're interested in Mr. Sue Family, and it's all about what I do daily, my love for cars.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think I'm not afraid to be in front of a camera is because the business I'm in, I'm always talking to people.
I think that's it. I think it's the fact that we're both, I don't want to say extroverted, but we're comfortable talking to strangers.
Yeah. We really could care less what other people think of us.
Right, exactly.
So,
yeah.
We can make a fool of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm completely okay with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you watch my channel, I made a fool of myself on some of the videos just to be funny. So, but that kind of leads on to our next question, right? I mean, now they kind of know what we do, but what did you want to do when you were growing up? I mean, you came to Canada.
Yeah.
You immigrated here. You had the education. I think you were going to high school.
I was going to,
right. You were going to high school.
I was going to high school when I moved here. Yeah.
When you moved here, so what did you end up deciding? Like, did you already have a plan? Did you have a plan when you were back in China? Then that plan changed. Did it change when you came to Canada? Mm-hmm. So what did you want to do growing up?
Well, growing up as a kid, I've always loved cars. So I think my passion was cars. Ever since I was a kid, even in China, I remember my grandpa and I, if I did well on a test, he would bring me on a walk, and then we would go and just go car spotting.
All right.
On the side of the road, right? Just look at cars, and I'd be like, oh, that's an Audi 2000. Oh, that's a Passat. Oh, that's whatever, right?
Okay, all right.
So I will always love cars, and I wanted when I was a kid at first, I wanted to work with cars.
Okay.
So maybe an engineer of some sort, right?
Okay.
But then I realized my limited capabilities with math.
Yeah.
And that's hindered me quite a lot.
Yeah.
So back in high school, I didn't want to limit my choices. So I did courses because you had to pick courses to pick your stream going into university, right?
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
I did essentially half business and half science, so that I have choices at the end, right? Like I could go into business if I wanted to, or I can go into science if I wanted to.
Okay. All right.
And at the end, like my family on my mom's side have all been like generation doctors. So they wanted me to be in science at least, if not doctor.
That's the big question. I mean, your parents must have wanted you to do something.
They
like every Chinese parent.
Yeah.
Right, let's be real. What did they? I was waiting for that. What did your parents wanted you to do?
They wanted me to be a doctor.
All right, let's be real. That's what they wanted you to be.
They wanted me to be a doctor.
There's only a couple things that an Asian family,
yes, exactly,
right, force down their kids' throats.
Yep.
This is what you're gonna do.
They wanted me to be a doctor,
right.
and I. So
what a disappointment you've become.
Well, okay, so hear me out. So after high school, I went to University of Ottawa.
Yeah.
For biochem. So I went to university for biochem, and my first year university, I got into.
That's crazy. Okay, but no, I went to biochem too. But let's see you go first.
Yeah. So first year university, they were like, oh, you have to find a job, you have to get ahead of people. So then I applied everywhere, and luckily it was enough to get a job at Pfizer. Doing vaccine research. Okay,
all right.
Luckily,
but your first year of university.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I worked there for 5 years doing vaccine research.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
So that was in 2011, and then I quit in 2015.
Oh.
Yeah. So I guess 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. 4 years. That was a wild, crazy story, and that was like my dream job at the time. Because I've always
Now,
thought,
was it your dream job, or were you doing it to please your parents?
no. It was actually my dream job because I wanted to be in science when I went into university.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my friends went into science, and
Yeah.
I really, I was naive as a kid. I really believed that I could change the world.
Okay.
Like at that spirit, that fire, right? And I was like, you know what? Fuck, screw doctors, right? I don't want to just help one person at a time. I want to develop drugs to help millions of people.
All right.
So that's why I applied for Pfizer and I got into the vaccine research division. And yeah, like I worked on, I remember the pneumococcal vaccine. I worked on some antihistamine vaccines, so allergy vaccines, and also some cancer vaccines as well.
Okay, wow.
And they were all actually, funny enough, RNA vaccines.
Okay.
Which became very relevant 2 years ago. 2 years ago when COVID became a thing, right? So mRNA vaccines, you remember that?
Okay.
Yeah. So when Pfizer came out with the mRNA vaccine for COVID, I was like, I tested like early version of this like way back, right? But for different things. Anyways, so I worked there for 4 years, and I've always wanted to become a scientist in the pharmaceutical space.
All right.
And then what changed it was I went to do my experiment one day with my boss. We've already scheduled it, and we've been working on this project for a year and a half. And that's just me, right? Like he's been working on it for, like more than that, right? Many years more than that. So we go, and 7:30 in the morning, I get there, and he's like, "Oh man, the experiment's canceled." I was like, "Why? What happened?" And he's like, "Well, the top brass essentially decided there wasn't enough money in this drug."
Every research.
Right? So they were like, yes, this drug will work and potentially save lives. Yeah. But there's not enough money to be made in the process. Oof. So they shelved it.
It's all about profits.
Yeah, man. And that really ticked me off because, all the time we spent, and also all the, we might get under fire for this. All the animal testing that we did, right? All the animals that we sacrificed to do the experiments. Yeah. It was just such a waste, right? Yeah. To me, at least. And that's when I decided to actually go into business, because I wanted to make the decisions, because money drives the world. That's when I really realized money drives the world. Okay. And I went into business, and here we are today. All right. Okay. And so I actually switched my undergrad to finance instead of okay. So I did 2 years of biochem, and then I switched into the finance program. Okay. All right. Yeah. What about you?
Me, every Asian family, I think I was same thing, to be a doctor. That's what my parents wanted, and I think for me it was just to please them. Right? I did well. I mean, I did well in school. I didn't have to study hard in high school. And I got into university, and I got into biochem, just like you were. And I think the only reason why I did biochem was because I didn't know what else to do. And I was told by my parents, go become a doctor. Mm-hmm. That's what you should do for a living. Yeah. So that's what I did. I got into biochem. I hated every minute of it. Uh-huh. University was never like high school for me. Yeah. I could sleep through high school and study the day before an exam and get an A. Yeah. But for the life of me, I could not do that in university. I didn't enjoy school. I just hated it. Yeah.
So you're saying you peaked in high school?
I don't know what I did. I mean, I didn't even peak because I just didn't have to really try hard to get it, right? Fair enough. Yeah. But that same, way of studying didn't work in university for me. Mm-hmm. It just failed me, right? So I thought I could breeze through university too, but that did not work. Like first year, I was failing. Mm-hmm. I was barely passing, so I had to make a decision. Without my parents knowing, I switched from biochem to criminology. Because at that point, I was thinking, hey, I mean, what do I want to do? Yeah. Right? So I was thinking, like, what do I want to do? I mean, I did it because I finally realized I was doing it to please my parents, get into biochem, become a doctor, but man, that's not for me. I'm not going to become a doctor. So I got into criminology, because I hated university so much, but I wanted to stay in it, and I was told that was easy to do, so I got into criminology. B, I did want to become a police officer.
Right.
So I was thinking, hey, I could become a police officer.
Right.
That'd be fantastic. So that's why I made that change. So in the end, criminology and psychology is what I studied in for my second and third year of university.
Mm-hmm.
But today, I'm not a police officer.
No.
I'm not a police officer.
You're not even a law-abiding citizen.
No. I'm as clean as they come.
Oh, okay, sure.
All right? As clean as they come. Okay? I have a lot of families.
In law enforcement.
They are.
Yeah.
My brother, right? Yeah. My brother-in-law, they're all police officers.
What does your brother think about your activities as a police officer?
Man, he says, keep going. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now, I did get accepted. So I did go for my dream, which was becoming a police officer at that point. And I finished. I did the test to become a police officer here in Canada. And I got the letter of offer. It was right in front of me.
From the police academy?
No, from RCMP.
Oh,
I got into
wow.
RCMP.
Okay.
And Ottawa Police. Both.
Yeah.
I got accepted to Ottawa Police, and I got accepted to RCMP.
Okay.
And they were in front of me, a letter of offer, and I just had to say yes. And I'm enrolled.
Yeah.
I'll go to school. I'll become a police officer.
And we wouldn't have met.
When that piece of paper came in front of me, I couldn't say yes. I don't know why. I mean, and I do not regret it.
Yeah.
So ask me today. I do not regret it. I see my brother as a police officer. I see my brother-in-law as a police officer. Man, what they do for a living is not easy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
yeah.
And
we'll have to have him on.
Oh, I know for sure. Like that's a whole other. I mean, the stories I hear from them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome, but I couldn't do what they do. Like what they do is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think police officers, they do so much. I mean, nurses, police officers, firefighters, like
first responders of all kinds.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an easy job.
No.
Right. And I know. I mean, I can't do what they do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of. I think growing up when I was a kid, never worried about what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't have to worry about it because my parents had such a successful business in Taiwan. My dad was known as the carrot man in Taiwan. All of Taiwan, 20 million people in Taiwan. And during his time, he grew them. I mean, he monopolized carrots.
Wow.
He was the biggest carrot farmer in Taiwan.
Crazy.
Biggest carrot farmer in Taiwan.
Damn.
During his time.
Yeah.
And, I don't think my parents would mind me sharing. I mean, they were a successful businessman. But unfortunately, they gambled too much into it. And they also had a motive. Like, they left their kids here in Canada. Understand, they dropped us off and they left.
Yeah.
And we would see them once every 4 months. And when I say we would see them once every 4 months, we only saw them for like a week. So they would fly into Canada, say hi to us, check up on us, and they would leave like 1 week. And then 4 months from now would be the next parent to come. So they would alternate coming because they had a business in Taiwan, like their own business. They couldn't just drop it.
Right.
They were doing so well. Now, one of their motivations was when I was 13, so 7 years later after coming to Canada, they finally said, okay, we should go and live in Canada with them. So they wanted to do the business 1 more year before they sell, but my dad got a little greedy. He wanted to like double up, triple up. So like he invested everything he had back into the business. And at that point, like he had bought out every other farmer that was growing carrots. Like he was really monopolizing carrots. But it was the wrong year to do it too.
Yeah.
It was weather didn't cooperate.
Yeah.
He couldn't harvest. So that was this long story short, he couldn't harvest, but I think growing up, I was like, maybe I'll just take over that business. Like, that's what I was thinking. Like, my dad was a huge car enthusiast, just like we are now. Like, he had a 96 turbo.
993?
Yeah, turbo.
That's the daddy.
Like, back in 96, he had a brand new one.
Holy. That's crazy.
Right? Like, today, how much is that car worth?
Oh, man.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, he had Porsches, he had Mercedes, BMWs.
Yeah.
Like he was a successful businessman.
Yeah.
Right. So growing up, I've always said oh, I'll just take over their business. Like I'm set for life. Like this is it, right? And then only unfortunately, when business failed, he still came to Canada. So in the end, they still moved to Canada.
They reached their goal.
They reached their goal.
Yeah.
Just wealth wise was a little different, right?
Yeah.
But till today, I mean, they wish they didn't fail, but they don't regret it. They're still super happy.
Yeah.
Because we ended up being able to spend I mean, when I was 14, I finally got to live with my parents.
Yeah.
So 14, 15, 16, 17,
before
I moved back
university.
to university, right?
Yeah.
So for 4 years, I actually got to live with my parents. Like, how many people can say that they didn't grow up with their parents?
Yeah. That's
right?
quite crazy.
So yeah, that's when I had to decide. Okay, what do you want to do for yourself?
Okay. So how about we transition into what do you do now?
Okay,
right? Like you wanted to be a police officer as a kid?
Not as a kid.
Or sorry,
university.
University.
Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do as a kid.
So then you didn't say yes to the offer letters.
Yep.
What did you end up doing?
I ended up getting into the car business. So it's just the transition was a little weird. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I said no to being a police officer.
Yeah.
Were
you already in the car business at that time?
Actually, no, you're right. So I was applying I was already in the car business. And I was a salesperson selling Nissans.
Ah, okay.
And during that time, I was putting my application through to become a police officer.
Right.
And I fell in love with business because I fell in love with cars, selling cars. Yeah. And I was good at it, very good at it.
Yeah.
Right? I could sell cars to anybody at that point. Yeah. And I was thinking, man, and I was making good money. I was making great money selling cars, more than what a police officer would make. Oh. So I was selling cars. I was good at it. I was making more money than a police officer. I was like, maybe I should have studied business when in university. Right. So when I finally decided no to becoming a police officer, I decided to go back to college to get my accounting.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Get the accounting designation back then.
Okay.
Because I thought, you know what, Ian, you love car business, maybe because you love business.
Yeah.
Right? So I went back to Algonquin College. Yeah. Studied accounting. Loved every minute of it. Like that wasn't studying to me. Like that was back in high school. I got my I got my
your groove back.
Back in high school. Like I didn't have to study hard.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I was good at it.
Yeah.
So I did.
Wow. Okay. So how many years were you back in school?
So 1 more year. So because I did university already, I was able to go into accounting and fast track. So it was 1 year of hard, like I think like a fast track. What do they call it?
Yeah.
And I was doing like 6 courses every semester. It was 3 semesters, so I was jammed in.
Okay.
So I was able to go get my designation as an accountant.
Yeah.
But I never ended up finishing my designation anyways. So I did. I finished it. I got out of college.
Yeah.
And as I finished college, Alicia and I were getting married.
Right.
So families were asking Alicia, like, hey, what's your husband do for a living? I didn't have a job.
Yeah.
Right? You
weren't selling Nissans at the time?
No, I left. Because I made a decision.
Oh, because you were doing full-time at school.
Yes.
I see.
When I made the decision, I wasn't going to become a police officer anymore.
Yeah.
I had to realize, okay, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
So I went back to school full-time to get into business.
Yeah.
To become an accountant, to whatever.
Yeah.
To study more about business.
Right.
And then after college, as soon as I finished, was when our wedding. And at our wedding, I remember everyone were asking.
Yeah.
Right? And Alicia's family were all asking, oh, what's your husband do for a living? And Alicia had a blast. I think she just told her parents, no, he's not working. Unemployed. Right? And that's what her dad
told her dad was like taking her hand like.
Her dad was saying the exact same thing. Because people were like, oh, he's such a good guy. What does he do? He's unemployed. We don't know what he's doing. Right? And I ended up getting back into the car business.
Yeah.
So after I finished college, I was enrolled to get my designation. Back then, called CGA. I think it's called CA now. I don't know what they're called now, but
CPA.
CPA or CPA. I don't know. back then it was chartered general accountant.
Okay.
And I was going for that designation, and I got it. After the wedding, I started applying to jobs.
Yeah.
Like everybody else does when they finish. And luckily, I got 3 job offers.
Oh, cool.
2 jobs was a junior accountant, and 1 job was to get back to the car business. The 2 jobs that were offered, I was going to become a junior accountant for a property business, and the other one is actually a junior accountant for a dealership. The pay back, that was in 2011. The pay were $29,000 a year.
That's crazy, dude.
$29,000 a year to be a junior accountant. And both jobs back then, I think it was relatively close. It wasn't much different.
Yeah. That's minimum wage, no?
Man, $29,000, that was nothing.
Yeah.
I was selling cars. The year before that, when I was selling cars, I was making over $100,000.
Yeah.
Selling cars. I had such a hard time to say, man, do I accept this job because I needed it in order to get my destination.
Right.
Because I needed those hours, right? In order to get my CGA.
Yeah.
But I said, do you know what? In the end, I became a business manager, finance manager. So in the car business, dealership, I was a finance manager, business manager. And that's what I got. That's what I ended up taking. So the 3 job offers, I finally then said no again to education.
Yeah.
Got back into car business because I truly fell in love with it. And
you love cars.
And I love cars, right? I love cars. Got into the car business, and for the last 15 years of my life,
so ever since
then, so it's been 15 years now in the car business.
Yeah.
So today, I do own my own car dealership, and that's kind of how we met.
We
right?
worked together.
I met you 8 years ago, selling you a car,
a Mini,
right?
My first
right?
new car.
Yeah, I was managing. I was a general manager for the Mini dealership here in Ottawa.
Exactly.
So people ask, and one funny thing, real quick before we get to you. When I got in the car business, I was afraid to tell my parents, this is what I'm in and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, because they didn't see car business as a career.
Right.
Like my parents thought, oh man, you're just a salesman. Yeah, you're just doing that to make money, and you'll do something else.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the only time I finally accepted that, wow, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and I'm proud of it, and I'm proud to share it with people. And they're in the car business, salesmen it's a career, guys. It's not just they're a salesman. I mean, it's a career. People have built their whole career doing and making sales and building a life being a salesman.
Yeah.
Right. I think the time when I finally accepted it, wow, being in the car business is okay, and it's a job to be proud of, was when my dad flew in Canada, and he wanted to visit where I worked.
Oh, okay.
And I brought him to Mini Ottawa.
Yeah.
Right? A dealership there.
Yeah.
And I was the general manager there.
Yeah.
And he finally said, you manage this? I said, I do. I said, I run this whole entire store.
Yeah.
Right? And he goes, really? I said, yeah.
Because he just thought you were a sales guy.
Correct. What I always told him, I'm a salesman, I sell cars.
Yeah.
I sell cars.
Yeah.
Maybe I was afraid to tell people that too. Like, people don't see that as a real career.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, is it a proper job?
Yeah.
I don't know. When I was that age, I didn't see, because my dad has always thought, man, you got to become a doctor.
Right. The Asian expectations comes in.
Correct, the expectation, and I think I was thinking I was letting them down, right, by giving up. And when they knew I got into policing, and I said no to that too, they were like, "Why?
Yeah.
Like, you can become a police officer, right?" And I said no to that too, and then I told them I was going to become an accountant, and I said no to that too. Like, I was just letting them down left and right. Like, in the end, I was like, man, he ended up wanting to sell cars for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that day when I realized my dad was truly proud, he looked at me and said, wow, you do all this? And I said, yeah, this is why I work. Is when I was proud to say, hey, I'm in the car business. And till today, I'm in the car business. I own my own dealership. I own my used car. I manage some of the biggest stores here in Ottawa. And just after 13 years of doing it for other people, I decided to do it for myself.
Do it for yourself, yeah.
Now, what about you?
What do I do now?
Yeah, what do you do now? I know you're in a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in business together.
We're in business together. Yeah.
We're in business together.
That happened. That all happened from me buying a car from you.
Correct.
And then we got into the software business together.
Correct.
Doing app development and software development, which we still do.
Yep.
We started incorporating marketing.
Well, let's tell them what the company's called. I mean, there's okay.
Yeah. It's called Moco Technologies.
Correct.
So we do software development, marketing, branding, and design.
Yep.
All kinds of stuff. And then we have a development team.
Yep.
And we have head developers and other, for apps,
Yep.
for websites and things like that helps us do it, because I'm not a coder and he's not a coder either. So that's what we do, and that's what I do.
Yeah.
And and I guess also on the car business, we worked on that as well, like since last year.
Yes.
Mid-COVID? It was like 2021.
Yeah.
Brought me into the
car business.
Business, and so that's what I do now, I guess, in short.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and it was also it's funny because I never actually finished my university degree. So speaking of letting parents down, right? So I'm in the same boat.
So we both done it.
Oh yeah. So
we're like the opposite of what every Asian parent wants.
Yeah,
we're like if any Asian parents heard what we just said, they're like, well, let's disown them.
Yeah.
We don't want these kids.
Yeah, stop listening to the podcast. Yeah.
Cut.
Exactly. I had an idea. Man, this was back in 2014, I think.
Yeah.
14 or 15, summer, and I was trying to find a job. I was still working at Pfizer, but I was in finance at this point. I've already made the switch.
Yeah.
Pfizer was a well-paying job, so I stayed there to put myself through school.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to find a job in business, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't find anything because I had no business experience. All my experiences were in science, right? Yeah. And me and my friends were just kind of talking and chatting, and we came up with an idea for an app, a share economy parking app.
Yes.
Parka. Do you remember that? Parka, exactly.
That's right.
So we started Parka just kind of as a side hustle.
Yeah.
And then it got a little bit more serious as we started talking to the right people, making the right connections. And then we ended up actually pitching it to an investment firm in China, and got I think it was like 130,000 in investment.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was a ton of money. Right?
Yeah.
And it was more than enough to cover development and some marketing and things like that, at least to start up the business.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what we did. We both took time off school. He put med school on hold.
Wow.
Yeah, he put med school on hold. And then we both did this, Parka, started that startup. And that's right before I met you.
Yes.
That's right before I met you. And then that was still going. But I think at the time there was another parking share economy app that just started maybe 6 months before we did.
Yes.
But the thing is, they started in Toronto,
and
it was being run by people that have been in business for quite a while.
Okay.
So they were like in their late 30s, they had money, they had connections.
Yeah.
So they were able to push their app out a lot quicker and a lot more effectively than two kids just not even finished school yet, right? With no experience.
Yeah.
Making excuses, right?
Yeah.
But long story short, the app didn't work out.
Yeah.
But at the time, I already built a team of designer and but the coders were the backbone of our company, of our project. So I said to the coders, I was like, why don't we do this, but for other companies? Like, why don't we just start developing stuff for projects for other companies? So I think my friend, my partner at the time with Parka, he went back to school, and I decided to not go back.
Okay.
And just pursue what we've already built and kind of just build it from there.
Okay.
And here we are today.
Yeah. Here we are today. We own Moco Technology, so if you wanted to check us out there, please do.
Yeah.
And
we've done a few cool projects. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's
app developments for car dealerships. App developments for
we did a
crypto.
Crypto. We did a huge finance dashboard for a crypto company. That was a long project. We're still doing that, actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
it's all ongoing.
The business is growing.
Yeah. And
No, for sure.
I think over the past few years, because of COVID, we were not able to network as much and get out there as much
of course.
to get new clients. So I would love to get more and get more back into developing.
Yeah.
But you know, and since then we've also transitioned into a lot of marketing, a lot of branding, and things like that, and design work, which I love. You know, I'm being I'm more of a creative person myself, so I love doing that aspect of the business and heading those kind of projects. So
it's awesome.
That's kind of what we do today.
That's awesome. Well, you know what? Our first podcast. I think
first episode.
I think it's gone a little longer than
we thought.
Than we had thought.
How long has it been? I haven't
an hour.
Track. Okay.
I think it's about an hour. It's a little longer than we have talked about.
Yeah.
I think we'll end it real quick here.
Let's cut it here.
We wanted to say, guys, for everyone who's stay tuned,
who's still here,
who's still listening, thank you so much. Thank you for...
Honestly, at this point, probably nobody's listening. But if you are, write to us. We'll send you something, as a thank you for listening.
You somehow are still listening. Thank you.
Yeah. And family doesn't count. So, Alicia, no.
Yeah, family doesn't count. And if you skipped everything else and just went to the very end, hey, we'll test you.
Yeah, we'll test you. We'll come up with a quiz.
Between each sip, honestly, I think this is the start of something.
Yeah, I hope so.
And we're going to have a lot of great topics.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of great topics. And
on careers, on social things, on cars, whiskey, watches.
Everything.
Yeah. And we'll
and you guys will get, today's podcast, I think, is just for you guys to know a little bit more about us. Before we start getting to other topics. But thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening.
Cheers.
Cheers.